Other symbolism in two kinds can be seen in the sweaters she had knitted in yellow, pink, bright orange. All the colors I hated. I put those in moth-proof boxes. So she rejects the items that symbolize her mother's attempts to impose on her things that she did not like. But she also says that I found some old Chinese dresses, the kind with little slits up the sides. I rubbed the old silk against my skin, then wrapped them in tissue and decided to take them home with me. So there are things that she can accept. And by keeping these items, she symbolically chooses to maintain and preserve certain elements of her Chinese heritage handed down through her mother. She couldn't do that when she was younger, but after she turns 30, after she has had time to mature and to think about her relationship with her mother, she's able to accept some of these things from Chinese culture that she wasn't able to as a young girl. And then there is the humor in the story. Here is, of course, a photo of Shirley Temple, who we can recognize, even though her movies were long ago. The curly hair, the smile, the dimples, the dancing, singing little girl. Very, very popular at one point in time. So, some of the examples of humor would be, first of all, when the mother takes Jingmei to get a perm at a beauty training school to look like a Chinese Shirley Temple, and it does not turn out well. So Chinese hair is not as amenable to being curly with a perm as some other types of hair. So this does not end well for Jingmei, even though she does like her Peter Pan haircut that she gets because of this disastrous perm. And then Jingmei's piano teacher, Old Chong, is deaf, and he can't see well either. So that's both funny, of course, and ironic that you would have someone who teaches music to be deaf, and then they can't even see the notes that she's playing on to see that she's keeping up with the right notes on the piano. The dialogue, some of it is so humorous because she recreates the speech of someone whose first language is not English. So it's easy to see that the mom doesn't speak English like a native. She says things like, "You can be best anything. What does Auntie Lindo know? Her daughter, she is only best tricky." Or, "Who asked you be genius?" she shouted. "Only ask you be your best. For you sake. You think I want you be genius? Huh. What for? Who asked you?" Or then when they're bragging, "Our problem worser than yours. If we ask Jingmei wash dish, she hear nothing but music. It's like you can't stop this natural talent," which of course also ironic since Jingmei is not truly interested in playing the piano, and it's easy to stop what she's doing. Then there's similes, some really great similes. I love this one where she's talking about Old Chong's mother, describing Old Chong's mother. She had this peculiar smell like a baby that had done something in its pants, and her fingers felt like a dead person's, like an old peach I once found in the back of the refrigerator. The skin just slid off the meat when I picked it up. That is really a gross and disgusting image that we can get in our minds about this mother of her piano teacher. It just sounds horrible. And she also says when she's practicing, "I would play after him, the simple chord, and then I just played some nonsense that sounded like a cat running up and down on top of garbage cans." Again, we can imagine that sound. Nothing musical, nothing pretty about that. Just a lot of unpleasant noise to our ears. Or it felt like worms and toads and slimy things crawling out of my chest. But it also felt good, as if this awful side of me had surfaced at last. So we know, when we've said something terrible that we regret, that we wish that we could take back, that we can imagine it, right? Feeling like worms and toads and slimy things. And then that's the way she feels in the story. The themes in this story, well, of course, they're centered around identity, one of them. So when Jing Mei's mother tells her daughter she can be anything she wants in America, she really means that her daughter could be anything her mother decided she could be. And, that's a little bit different than deciding that you can be anything you want yourself. And so that, again, causes that conflict within Jing Mei, because she knows, right, that she's living at the beginning of what her mother wants to do when she's taking the test, sitting at the table with her mom, when she's trying to learn the piano. And so there's this conflict in identity, already brought out, the conflict between the Chinese ideal of cultural conformity and the American ideal of unique individuality. And that is really a very strong, dichotomy that exists. The Chinese believing that you need to accept the traditions of the past to fit in with the people of the present, right? By doing this, not to stand out, by being different, by being individual, and going up against the grain. Whereas, the American idea is that you are someone who is special and different, and if you think something different, you should say it. You shouldn't be too influenced by what other people think of you. You should follow your own path. There is hope, right? There is also a theme of hope. And at the very beginning of the story, both Jing Mei and her mother hope that Jing Mei will become a prodigy, right? They share that hope. But then that hope is lost at some point. And when that hope is lost, that's very hard on Jing Mei. And no doubt it was hard on her mother as well. But towards the end of the story, Jing Mei admits that her mother giving up hope in her daughter's success frightened me the most. Right? Because as a child, you always want your parent to hope that you will be okay, that you will be successful, that there's nothing bad is going to, to happen to thwart your dreams. And when Jing Mei's mom did not make her practice the piano anymore and gave up on having that dream for Jing Mei, that is a loss of hope that Jing Mei finds painful and hard to get over. Then the archetypes in this story, well, there is an initiation into adulthood. Right? That's the strongest one I think that we see. Even though Jing Mei is not an adult after she fails to play the piano well at the talent show, she does learn that she can't just pretend to learn something and be successful. And she learns that she has the power to thwart her mother's wishes. So she thinks that her mom will never want her to play the piano again just because she's done so badly. But when her mother is still going to insist that she do that until Jing Mei absolutely crushes her mom with the words that she would wishes she were dead, just like the twin daughters that died in China. And that's when she learns that she is powerful enough to contradict her mother and stop, right, what her mother wants to happen.